and introductions. I want to welcome our two presenters this evening. I'm going to let you guys, introduce yourselves.
I'm Drasana Hughes. I'm the new Brooklyn Borough Commissioner for DEP. Very happy to be here today.
Very good. And we happy to
Did
have
you say new?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
2 months.
2 months.
It's also a new position.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
It's also a new position.
Yeah.
that's good. It's very much
Okay.
needed.
So she's creating it from scratch, making it up as she goes along,
Very good.
which is fun.
Nice.
It's the fun part of it.
Yeah. Michael?
No, I'm Michael Reeser. I'm from Paint Care. We recycle paint.
Very good, yes. And I am Debbie Timothy. I am the chair of the CB9 Environmental Protection Committee. Oh, yes.
Kendall Christensen, a member of the board and the committee.
Bishop.
And I am Bishop Gonzalez, and I am a member of CB9.
I'm Amy Jacobson, I'm a resident member.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we all have the minutes from the last meeting. So, and we have the current agenda for tonight, so. And well, now we're gonna turn the floor over to Bishop, who's gonna give us a word of encouragement, which is what we do at this meeting.
On
before we-
this very special day.
And on this very special day,
Yes.
what is special about the day?
The world economy just blew up.
Yeah.
It blew up.
The world economy just blew up based on the president's tariff.
Oh, really? Well, what does that mean?
Let's, no, we need to
Very
go
good
over
question.
here. We won't go there tonight, oh no.
You're supposed to be words of encouragement.
Just give us a word of encouragement.
That's right.
We're not
We
going
need
there.
encouragement.
So let us start right now.
Yes, thank you.
The universe has brought us again to this place, this appointed place where we come so we can have a conversation about our responsibility for our community, and not just the community in terms of the buildings, but a community in terms of its environment. We know that the environment is just as important as the light or the water or the gas or the playground. And we understand that what we do contributes to whether or not our environmental state is intact with the universe. So when we come to Board 9, and we are under the leadership of Debbie, we understand that we have a sincere commitment to not only help CB9, but to change our world and the environment that we are surrounded in. This night we are asking you, not for promises. This night we are asking you, not for excuses. This night we are asking you, not to let us step aside as leaders, but to let us come together as one, knowing that even when it seems like it is not enough, it's just a little bit, whatever we do can change our world and make it a better place. Take this meeting under your control and grant us what we have not asked for but does deserve, and also keep us safe, honest and truthful as we speak about issues that will only make our world a better place to live in. So it is, and so it shall be, now and forevermore. Amen.
Thank you for that. Yes, thank you. Now we're going to enter new business, and I'm going to turn the floor over to our Brooklyn Borough Commissioner to start her presentation on flooding mitigation, something that we've been talking about in the past.
Do you want
And
to
I'm
sit?
happy
Do you want
that she's here.
I usually don't.
Okay.
So,
You just want to make sure. Okay, yeah. Should I click through? You can click through for me.
Yeah, I can move.
Okay, thank you so much, Colin. I appreciate that. Okay, hi everyone.
Hi.
Very excited to present here today. Thank you for those words.
God bless.
So as I said earlier, I've only been in this role for 2 months, so I don't have every answer, and I certainly don't know everything about the unique needs of this community board. But I have had a lot of repetitions and experiences under my belt, especially as it relates to flooding, because that's one of the biggest things that we address here at DEP. So usually the way this goes is I'll go through the presentation first.
Yes.
I try to be very efficient. I don't think I'm telling people a lot of new things here when I'm talking about what it's like to have your basement flood, how it happens, and some things you can do to help. So I try to be efficient with that, and then after ask questions, and
Sure.
I found that has worked the best. If
That's
that works
fine.
for everybody.
Yeah, that's
Okay, so you have it in front of you and over here, so we can go to the next slide. So we start this presentation just talking about how New York City's climate was recently reclassified as human subtropical, which is something that people have thought was the case for a very long time. So I'm not here to say, once it was reclassified, this is the truth. Like, obviously, New York City has had intense rainfall for a very long period of time. We classify intense rainfall at DEP as anything that's over 2 inches an hour. And that's because it engages with the sewer in a different way and puts stress on the sewer in a different way, which I'll talk about in a second. But this is a big deal because it gave us, it gives us legitimacy with the federal government, with the state government. When we talk about the stressors we experience as a city, we can say that we're actually a different type of climate now that experiences more intense rainstorms than we did before, and our sea level is rising.
Called before.
I actually don't know what it was before, but I know it's now human subtropical, and I scream that at the top of my lungs wherever I can. But I can find out what it was before.
Probably temperate or something.
Great, so if you go to the next slide, the 3 types of flooding that I'm going to review today are groundwater, stormwater, coastal. So stormwater is what it sounds like, right? It's like storm in the sky, rain's coming down. Coastal is what it sounds like, and that can also be exacerbated by storms, but basically the tide is rising or kind of water's coming in from the coast. And then groundwater is water that exists in the ground right now, even as we're sitting here. So most people's homes and buildings are over a water table and there's water in the ground. That can get exacerbated by storms and coastal flooding as well. And groundwater is the homeowner's responsibility, so it can be a little bit different. So we just like to talk about these 3 differently, but they all interact. And if there's a heavy storm or intense storm, you can kind of get all 3 at once, depending on where you are in the city. We go to the next slide. So this is just a good depiction of groundwater. Some areas in the city have higher groundwater than others. In Brooklyn, we run the gamut, and after heavy rain or like lots of back-to-back storms, you can see groundwater flooding your basement, and that's different than a sewer backup or coastal flooding, because like groundwater flooding can sometimes, it will come from the sides, or you'll be like, where is this water coming from? It's not even coming from a faucet or a pipe. It will come through your walls, so that's a little bit different, and we like to raise attention to it because solving that would be a different process than solving a sewer backup or a different other kind of flooding. Go to the next slide. Coastal flooding, we just like to do a slide on this because it's relevant for a lot of communities in Brooklyn, but because of where certain outfalls are, coastal flooding can also send water back into the sewer system, and that can come up in catch basins or manholes or in basements. So it's not just rainwater from the sky can make it come back into a manhole, but it's also from the coast as well. So we just like to raise that awareness. Okay, go to the next slide. This is an important one that I think when I'm describing sewer backups, I'm surprised by how many people don't know this, but I think it's important when you're understanding what's happening, that 60% of New York City has combined sewers. So what does that mean? That means when you flush your toilet, when you use the washer or dryer, when you rinse your hands in the sink, that water goes to the same place as when water comes from a storm. In general, it's not a big deal. And then you have a massive storm and the water backs up, and it's not storm water backing up, you could have sewage backing up into your, and nobody likes that, right? That's not great. And so sometimes people are like, why do I have sewage in my basement? It's because you live in an area where there's a combined sewer. And so not all, like I said, 40% of New York has separate sewers. So it's different, but most of Brooklyn, a lot of Brooklyn, and I think definitely this community board is a combined sewer. So we just like to explain that to people, and that's why that dynamic exists. And we can go to the next slide. So now I'm going to talk about what the city is doing to combat flooding. And then after this, I'll go into what like individual homeowners can do.
Yes.
So we have what we call gray, green, and blue infrastructure. These are different ways the city tries to build things that will combat flooding, make it less likely that flooding gets out of control, and then we can regulate and are implementing certain technologies that would allow us to learn about flooding in real time, which is very exciting. So you go to the next slide. Gray infrastructure is a fancy word for sewers. It's the same thing. It's just they like to call it that. So why do we consider this our toolkit to combat flooding? One, in like 98% of situations, the sewers work for making sure that you don't get a backup in your home. And that's because the sewers can handle up to basically 1.75 inches of water an hour. Now it varies, like different parts of the city have different capacities within that range. But like I said on the first slide, what we're really concerned about is when we're getting more than 2 inches an hour. When we're getting more than 2 inches an hour, the sewer might be capacity. We might have to, go to plan B, C, or D because the sewer is not helping. Now, even though the sewers handle 98% of events, they're very old, and some of the sewers they're not big enough to handle either what's happened through climate change or other changing dynamics in a neighborhood. And so DEP is investing $8 billion over the next 10 years to upgrade the sewers. And there are a lot of projects all across Brooklyn that will make a big difference and hopefully make this number go from 98 to 99 because the sewers need to be really the first line of defense here. And we'll go to the next slide. So green infrastructure is our kind of second tool. And we've done a lot with green infrastructure in the past 10 to 15 years. So the two biggest parts of green infrastructure to talk about are rain gardens. So you see these on the side of the road. They have a little thing that says NYC on the side, and they have plants, some of them, and have a tree in the middle. And then you have something else called porous pavement, which we'll talk about later, that is also considered green infrastructure. So these are great because they catch stormwater before it goes to the sewer. So like I said, the sewer does 98%, but if we can make anything less on the sewer, that's really, really great, and it prevents something from going into someone's basement. So we put these rain gardens all over Brooklyn. There are a couple more in construction, and maintaining them is very important, and making sure that they're clean and functioning properly, or else why do we put these things here? They're supposed to be here to take pressure off the sewer. We go to the next slide. I had to send it in PDF form, so I'm a little sad, but this was a video of how porous pavement works. And basically, it's just showing you, you think when you put water on concrete, it's just there, it kind of sits there. Porous pavement, it sinks into the pavement. This is really cool because it can soak up rainwater and stormwater, once again, taking some pressure off the sewers. And we're building 35 miles of this more in Brooklyn. There's a lot of it that we're constructing around Prospect Park. I don't know too much in this community board, but it's very exciting because there's a lot of areas we can't build rain gardens because rain gardens need a parking space worth of material. So if you're in front of the wrong thing, or if there's too many Con Ed, National Grid, we can't build a rain garden. Porous pavement we can build pretty much anywhere. So that's really, really exciting and something that we are continuing to implement all over Brooklyn. We can go to the next slide. So this is when I was talking about that real-time monitoring. Is we are putting in flood net sensors. We're going to put in 500 across all the boroughs. I don't know that there's any up in Brooklyn yet. It's something that's starting this summer. And these sense flooding in real time, and we would put them in areas that flood frequently. And the reason is, one, wouldn't it be awesome if we got the information before 311 and you call your community board and then you call me and we could get information in real time? Two, there's a lot, our emergency management team does a very good job getting information quickly, but there's people make up fake pictures of flooding, or someone's using ChatGPT to make up a fake. So this is a way to get real, the efficacy is pure information about where flooding is happening, and we're very excited about it. And you can look up more about it on my website too, floodnet.com/NYC. I've been telling all the community boards about this because a lot of people don't know about it, and I think it's great. In 2022, we passed the Unified Stormwater Rule. So most new development and redeveloped properties have to legally, before they can start, have stormwater management in place in the building. This is awesome because if you're gonna get something from the city, you're gonna build this fancy new building,
Yeah.
you're gonna have new development, you should be giving something back to the city.
Yeah.
So the fact that these buildings have to manage stormwater, it's a new system. Like enforcement, like of anything new, is always hard. But like I think this is a great opportunity for community boards to work closely with DEP as you see things in the neighborhood. If you're curious, what are they doing for stormwater? Like that's a great thing I can flag internally. And I think it's an excellent rule that we are really excited to enforce at the agency because it will help us with our job. Go to the next slide. Okay, now this is all about what one can do to protect their home. First, days into the job, I've been going into people's basements. It's like one of the most frequent things that I do because there are things that homeowners can individually do to make flooding less likely. These things seem kind of obvious, but like houses were made really old, like a long time ago, and they don't all have them. So one, your bathroom fixture shouldn't be lower than your sewer connection. Because that means if the sewer is overflowing and there's a backup, it's going to go into your toilet or your bathtub before it actually goes into the fixture. And so making sure that your fixture is the lowest thing in the basement is important. Having 2 exits and no bars on your windows for safety reasons is really important. Like, God forbid someone's living down there. Some of these storms happen very, very, very fast. You want to make sure that water has a way to escape and that someone would be able to leave. And then, if someone is remodeling a basement, I would not recommend, locating at the bottom of a driveway below the sidewalk because that is where water will come. We can go to the next slide. So these are 2 examples. On the left is an improper installation of your downspouts, and on the right is proper. This is like a very, very big thing, especially in Queens, where like a bunch of houses were built before 1960 with improper installation. And it can result in really especially if you have your kind of like sewage going above you, it can result in some really bad situations. So just making sure that your downspouts are directed away from your building and they're routed properly. Most plumbers understand this, and so it's a good thing to have someone check. Go to the next slide. Rain barrels are great. You can connect them to the gutter in your home and they'll collect water before sending it out. And this is great for the city, right? Like if everybody had a rain barrel, we would collect X whatever million gallons of water before it hit the sewer, before it hit green infrastructure, and before a sewer backup occurred.
Yeah.
So you can get them at Home Depot. They're like under $50 and they're great. You can use it back on plants. You shouldn't drink it, but you can use it back on plants and anything else you would use stormwater for. The next is flood sensors. This is great if like the person sleeps on the second floor, but the flooding starts in the basement. This is my boss's flood sensor. It goes off for lots of reasons, but basically this will help you tell you in real time, okay, something's happening in the basement. Let me move my pictures, my furniture, things that are important to me. Great, you can go to the next slide. Flood barriers are another thing. They're like pretty short and small, but like I was talking about, for the sewers, the difference between 1.75 inches an hour and 2 inches an hour could be the difference between a backup or not. So having these, you can fill them with sand or water. You put them in the front or back of your door. They are also cheap and at your local hardware store. You can go to the next one. Sump pumps, I think everyone knows what these are, especially those who have frequent flooding in their basements. But these are devices that detect rising water and they can push it out. And making sure they're installed properly is also very important. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so these final slides are things that like DEP is asking of the public. Just to do to make our lives easier and the lives of the people who live here easier. One is if there's like a massive rainstorm, like maybe not the time to like run your dishwasher 5 times and take a luxurious shower and do the laundry. Because we have combined sewers, that's still putting pressure in the same place. The sewer's trying to take in stormwater, you're putting more wastewater. And so it's just putting pressure. So waste use water is great. Next slide. Put the correct things in your toilet and in trash. The city spends $18 million of your taxpayer dollars every year cleaning out the sewer because people put the wrong stuff in the toilet. So there's no such thing as a flushable wipe. They all say flushable on them in Dwayne Reed. I looked yesterday, they're all lying. So do not put anything besides toilet paper in the toilet. Go to the next. These are some apps for folks who are like if your basements are very sensitive, like I think there's a high correlation between above 2 inches of rainfall and a sewer backup, and so having something that can alert you to that, apps like NOAA's app that will tell you kind of the intensity of the rainwater as it's happening may be a good idea. And go to the next slide. Flood insurance is a federal program. We recommend checking if you can get it and getting it because it's it can insure you. I think in some cases up to $50,000. And you know, if folks have very intense flooding in their homes, you can be talking about losing a lot more than that. So we really, really, really recommend it at DEP. We'll go to the next slide. I'll talk a little bit more about other kinds of insurance. So one, this is my boss's bathtub when she got a sewer backup in Red Hook. And she had an optional rider. So like, one is it doesn't come in homeowner insurance. If you get a sewer backup, it's like it's not part of your normal homeowner insurance. So if there's a rider that you're open to paying for, we say you should look into that, as well as there's also special insurance for your sewer service line, which is the service line that goes to your home. If it breaks, it is not the city's responsibility, and it could be up to $10,000. It's $15 a month insurance. So we really recommend people get it, and it could happen. It could not be your fault. Your neighbor's sewer service line could be installed close to yours. They're not taking care of it. Now your line is broken.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of things. So like, we really recommend seeing how much insurance you can get on all of these things because they're really big expenditures when something happens. Go to the next slide. Please conserve water. We were in a drought recently. I don't know if folks saw that. But we even though we're in a humid subtropical climate, we can still have droughts. And saving water is great, making sure, like those of you who pay water bills, you have other reasons to want to do this, like making sure you don't have leaks, making sure you're not wasting water, very important. We'll go to the next slide. Great, I think we're almost done. This is just like signing up for this emergency service. Sometimes I hear about things honestly on this Twitter before it's like in my inbox. I'm like, how did this happen? But these people they have really, really good, quick, localized information, so I recommend whichever social media you use, signing up for Notify NYC. And then I think that's it. And if you want to go to the last slide, call it, this is just like DEP social media. And you can reach me at that email, Brooklyn DEP. That's me and my team, if anything ever comes up. And that's the presentation.
All right. Great presentation.
Happy to answer any questions that I can. If not, I'll look for the answer for you and come back.
Okay, no problem. So does anyone have any questions for Bob?
Can you explain about the unified stormwater rule? What would that look like?
Yeah, so some ways I've seen it is like a new building has to have a green roof. So they have to have a roof that can hold a certain amount of stormwater before it reaches the ground for a certain period of time. Or you have to pay for some sort of garden around your building that also can manage stormwater. Pay to support porous pavement around your building, in and around your building. And I think in some situations, development can even be involved in upgrading sewers and moving sewers, depending on how big the development is. So it's really a personal, localized plan for each building. But I think they're trying to correlate like how big your building is and how much water pressure it will put on the system to make that building responsible for gathering and holding that water.
So when there's new development on a block, say a one-family house is now 8 stories or something, how does that work into all this?
I can look up more detail for you. It's very case by case. So I saw like sometimes redoing of something, they don't have to do it versus a brand new development.
Yes,
And
like
so-
a brand new development.
Yeah.
Doesn't that stress the whole block?
I don't know. I'll have to get you, like, if you want to ask me about a specific address, I can get you more information on that. But I don't want to give you a blanket statement that's not correct. And it's very case by case. In general, I think it's less about what stress these buildings are putting on the sewer, because wastewater is about 9 to 10% of sewer capacity. Storms is like 90% of sewer capacity. Like storms
You
are
said the wastewater is
like 9 to 10%.
Okay.
So it's less about that. It's more that like I think like if you're gonna come to the city and build up higher and bring all of these people,
Right.
you need to give back to the city. And we struggle with managing wastewater as New York City. We struggle with that, especially with climate change. So like I don't think of it like this new building is ruining the sewer, because I just don't, the numbers don't support that. Wastewater is so small
Oh.
compared to stormwater, but it's more like, you need to give back to the city because this is new development and you're getting something from us and you need to give something back.
Now, these green lines you're putting on top of buildings, so how is that manageable when the roof needs to be changed? I mean, roofs get leaks, right?
I can ask you about that. I'm not sure about roof maintenance. That's not something I know
Because
about at
that
this
kind
time.
of sounds like a lot more complicated than just, changing.
Well, it's on the owner. It's on
Yeah,
the
no,
owner.
that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
it sounds a little burdensome.
Well, they're green roof systems that are easily sort of disassembled.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're in trays and.
Okay,
legs,
yeah.
and they're not, they don't sink roots into the roof.
Are they sinking roots into the roof?
No, they're not,
Oh.
so.
Hmm.
That's my
You
understanding.
said you weren't sure about sort of enforcement of this kind of stuff yet, because it's still relatively new. So if a builder puts their plans into DOB for approval.
We
does-
work with DOB on it.
Does DEP take a look?
DOB is the agency that works with us on it. Yeah, so I think we have like staff in our bureaus that are assigned to DOB staff and we do it together with them, yeah.
Same thing on the waste and recycling side is making sure that buildings provide enough space in their plans for waste and recycling.
That's
Yeah.
true,
Just issue
that's for
for
sure.
a long time as well. In some cities, their waste agency has an oversight, has a role to play in reviewing
Yeah,
and approving plans, so. But-
when it's two agencies, it's like way more complicated,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
glad to hear that that's what
Yes.
is being done, you guys get a shot at it.
definitely, yep.
Is it easy to spot porous pavement? What would that look like? Is it
It
mushy or?
It looks exactly the same to me. Like I was at a thing and I'm like oblivious. I can't tell these kind of things, but I can
You
also
will get
tell
very
you
good
guys.
at it. You will get very good at it.
I think so. I think yeah. I can tell you where I have a map of where all the green infrastructure is in Brooklyn. So I can tell you where there's porous pavement. I can tell you where you have rain gardens. Those are a little easier to spot. But I can shoot you an email back with where your porous
Yeah, we
pavement is
would
if
like,
it's in.
definitely like to know that.
Yeah.
The rain gardens
Also-
and bioswales have been also targeted to certain areas.
Correct,
right?
and I don't know that there's
Yeah,
many
that's not
here.
here,
Yeah,
so.
but they're like a lot near the park. Like they're not far if they're not here, and I'll find out if there's one or two here.
Yeah, that would be good to know.
Yeah.
And, do you have any questions?
I just think the park is kind of like a savior to us, in a
Mm.
sense.
It's
The park is, and I think sometimes we forget the kind of assistance we get from the park, helping us with the sewage water and flooding. I also just asked the question though, because the ocean is right there. And I'm always thinking, what if?
No, and there's still more we're doing with the park. So we work with the Prospect Park Alliance we want to make the stormwater potential of the park is not even nearly tapped, but then we talk about making changes to the park. So it's like there's a lot of stakeholders involved in that, and you want to make sure the park, remains a place where everyone feels there's ample space to do what you want to do in the park, but there's ways to maximize even more already than it does to help manage stormwater. And so we have a team at DEP working with them on it that I'm involved in a little bit.
All right, at least that's one thing we could think about positively.
Well, and the
Yeah,
school
and
playgrounds are
social
being redone.
Yes.
They're acting
That's
as
the whole
more
thing
public
with
sponges
parks.
as well.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you say that again?
As
Please,
school,
the playground.
as school playgrounds are being redone, they're being designed to hold
Oh.
stormwater differently, like
Okay.
act as a sponge for some period of time, so.
All right.
The question that I have is, pertains to the drainage, like on the street corners, where you see like a whole bunch of garbage, embedded in the drains. I mean, oftentimes myself and my neighbor, we go and we would pull out some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But is that DEP's responsibility? I know that sometimes,
Yes.
people may throw things on the street corner and, things like that, but,
So the short answer is yes, it's DEP's responsibility. So those are catch basins.
yes.
And it's our responsibility to keep them clean. And the long answer is the cleanest the rate that we clean them is not fast enough for
Right.
what we just don't have the resources and staff to clean them as fast as needed. A catch basin truck is $500,000. And there's like however many that I can count on two hands in that service Brooklyn. There are a few things that we do though. Like one, I think the community like doesn't know what those are. Like I'm embarrassed to say before I took this job, like I didn't really understand how important those are. And so we're doing an event with Councilmember Ressler in Greenpoint called like Adopt a Catch Basin. We're
Yeah.
bringing out the whole community. We're
Yeah.
giving out free stuff and like asking community members like if you do that anyway, like we can make Debbie a catch basin leader, give her seriously do a whole thing, bring the press, so people know like what it is.
What it is,
And
yeah.
so that could be something interesting to do with Councilmember Joseph or Mealy, like if they're interested in that, and with
Yes.
Community Board 9, because like it's a huge problem and we get sanitation involved, like making those not work, huge issue for flooding,
Yes.
because that they take water to the sewers. So yeah, it is DEP. If something is crazy, you can tell Khaled or Dante and they can call me and I can send somebody out.
Right.
But I can only do that so much if there's like hundreds that are like this.
Yes.
It's about like a cultural shift. So if you're interested in those types of events, like that's something I can absolutely help facilitate as well.
Yeah, that would be helpful because, people, people in the community need to know about, what's going on with these things and, try to prevent, this flooding stuff from happening. Because a lot of times when you're walking, especially when the rain's heavy, the crosswalk, on either side,
Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with the work that, Department of, Transportation
The
did.
street.
The streets,
Sometimes
the way
it's
they
that.
pave.
Sometimes it's
And it's like, the job is not done properly.
mm-hmm.
So you find certain areas, there's a large ponding on the corner or on the crosswalk, so I don't know how that can be resolved, but it's a problem.
Yep. No, understood.
Because then you have to walk around and you have to look for the cars come in and, so it's.
No,
it's,
the one on my block on Empire and Utica, when I used to live there, it gets like halfway into the street, the
Yeah.
water puddle. And yeah, sometimes it is DOT. I'm not here to yell at DOT, but sometimes it is them, but we can figure that out, right? Like
Yes.
you can put me and them on a chain, they can go out, they can look at the street, we can go out, we can look at the catch basin and see what the culprit is to the best of our ability.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can do that. So I can give, the information to Khaled or, Dante, and then, we can, pass it on to you.
And you're still learning this stuff that the DEP, I think, has a pretty aggressive sort of CMOM program. Is that on your radar at all?
See, mom.
CMOM, Capacity Maintenance Operations and Management. It's designed to be sort of a comprehensive system to sort of understand where the hot spots or the wet spots are
Mm-hmm.
and give those more regular attention as opposed to where there are less issues.
Yeah.
And so if you know that the catch basins in a certain area are frequently going to be, then the DP can manage its cleaning affairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same
I
with sort
think-
of cleaning, sewer hotspots around restaurants and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
I think even like I think even with that, like it's never frequent enough. Honestly, it's really, really hard.
But that's where the CMOM program comes in to say these are the priority areas, these are the.
For sure.
At least
I just hear
areas.
hear from the priority areas like
Yeah.
so I just want to be honest. Like it's an area that we're short staffed and we have less than what we need. But yeah, I'll definitely look that up.
But yeah.
And you should tell me if there's any.
But when they're out there, do they go to certain areas and?
Every
or-
catch basin is cleaned like every 3 years or something like that. If something happens more frequently, like there's a 311 call, or then it was obviously cleaned much sooner than that. And then I think there are priority catch basins and
So when
priority
they have a
areas.
schedule and.
They have a schedule, but it's like we can't we have to maintain flexibility for like hurricane season, which is like June through September, and then April's coming out. It's like April showers. So like I don't even like to overpromise on the schedule too, because it's like half the year
Yeah.
there's something happening where the schedule is like out the window because we're working on like real time climate issues. So it's just like it is one of the harder
Yeah.
things to address I have found in my brief time it is one of the more frustrating things for me to get a quick resolution.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's impossible. And we've had it. We fixed it. We fixed catch basins in this district. Like Dante and Colin have flagged something to me, and we've come and we've cleaned it. But it's a slower process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. So I can get some information over to Don.
And how do you work with the Department of Sanitation, because these catch basins would definitely not be getting so clogged if the streets were properly made, clean. I mean, there's garbage all over, the commercial streets.
Yeah, it's technically our responsibility.
Oh,
That's
so-
all I can really say about that. I mean, I would love
That's the
more.
complexity of it.
Yeah. But it's technically like the catch basin is us. So
Yeah.
we go and we clean the catch basin. When it's an issue, but yeah, I mean,
But the gutters in the street are not yours.
correct.
Those are either the homeowners or the business
Or the
owners.
business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or if there's like this different, if you see like a Con Ed grade or a natural grade, that's different. So there's a lot of things.
So I was thinking in terms of the complexity of
Mhm.
it, every 3 years, the catch basin is being cleaned. But we talk about teamwork, right? Where it includes leadership and representation. How would the agency then identify that this neighborhood needs to solicit leadership for the drawings? Because I know you say it's being done somewhere now.
311 calls.
And I think
311 is right.
it's like me too, me coming here and hearing from you,
Yeah.
and it's hearing that I heard from you, like that's how like events and those types of things and resources like that, I will always know about that if it comes from DEP. So like telling me and being like not being afraid to like send like Dante and Khaled, like they don't care, like they'll send me emails, like send them, call 311, like it's like all of those things they do matter in terms of raising the profile of your community and the needs in your community.
Okay, so it's a matter of communications
Mhm.
also.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so Debbie, where you are, we can definitely let them know.
Yeah,
You could be, you and your neighbor,
yeah.
can be representatives. And so when the storm starts, you can do what you do, and then the agency would remember. Maybe it's not lack of funding. We only have 5 of those.
I don't know if the number's 5, but I'm trying to figure out a program where a council member could sponsor a catch basin.
Because I was
And
saying,
they could keep it in their district, and I put their name on it, and I do whatever they want. But we'd have another catch basin cleaning vehicle. But like from an infrastructure perspective, they're way more expensive than a lot of the other things we have to like fix a sewer or fix a
Well, where are they? I'm not exactly sure what a catch basin is.
catch. They're at the corner of the. I don't know how folks
Are
would
they
describe it.
on every street, or is it like?
Not on everyone, but on
No.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And they're the
and-
grates where the water
Yeah,
comes
that's
in.
yeah.
the
Yeah.
grate. So you're
Sometimes
saying
they're right in
they're
front of
cleaned
your
out,
house.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
I have a
every
good
3
one
years.
for.
Right.
But you're not responsible for the garbage on the top, is that what you said?
We're not gonna we will come clean and fix a catch basin that's not functioning. Sometimes catch basins don't function because there's aggressive garbage on the top.
Yeah.
Sometimes they function with the garbage. The water will go through the McDonald's cup into the catch basin.
Okay, right,
So
right,
it
right.
just depends on the nature of the garbage and how it's impacting the utility of the catch basin.
So I like the idea of the council,
Mm-hmm.
the city council people doing something. So if they don't get a truck, at least can they award the people that are doing it?
Yeah, we can have an event. We are doing that with we're doing that in Greenpoint in a few
Yeah.
weeks. There's no reason we can't do it here.
There-
So-
But I would also think that DEP would have some type of capital funding for these type of projects.
DEP has capital funding, like I mentioned on the slide. A lot of it's going to upgrade the sewers in a lot of places.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's going towards coastal protection in a lot of places, like Red Hook, which flooded almost in its entirety during Sandy. So Red Hook Coastal Resilience is a multi-million-dollar project that DEP is working on. So there is a lot of money being spent on infrastructure
Yeah.
and catch basin improvements is part of the list, albeit a smaller line item
Yeah,
than upgrading a sewer, or putting floodgates or a flood wall.
but I think that, as you mentioned, me reaching out to the council members and the electeds in these communities, to at least, put some resources into these projects, I think that, that's helpful in getting, things done sooner. So that's a work in progress.
It's so tiny to have this big job.
I get that a lot.
But,
I have a loud voice. though.
but yes, I like this.
But it's
So,
good because,
the-
she's.
Yeah, she knows what she is, well, our agency knows what it's doing.
No, I
Because
appreciate
you're
that. I hope to
representing-
come back. I hope you guys invite me back, and
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you
yeah,
for
yeah.
coming out, thank you for this
How do
information.
you spell
I-
your name?
I can write it for you.
Alrighty.
What I would like to ask you is
Yeah.
if we can get your presentation,
Yeah,
is there a link for that?
Colin has it, so he can email it to
Okay,
you.
so we can include that on your minutes so that everyone gets the minutes, all the community board
That would
members.
be wonderful.
I just
Yeah,
love
so that
that.
they have
Yeah.
that information.
I'll let my
So that's
students look
good.
at it. So the ocean is rising,
I do. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I don't know how we do that, but, and as we do science here
Mm-hmm.
with the students, it is a concern that, most neighbors are not aware of, but it's rising more and more. As a matter of fact, my students kind of shiver when they say, it is predicted that one day Manhattan will go down underwater because serious things are happening in the environment. So I just want to compliment the agency for this part of the work that is being done, because when we hear about environmental things that are affecting us environmentally, we don't even know that this is part of it. We'll say, there's nothing wrong with the environment is okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't take to know in depth how it affects us.
Mm-hmm.
And I just appreciate the fact that you're here and that the agency is doing something,
Yeah, thank
even
you.
though it can't do everything, something is being done.
Well, DP actually has a commissioner, or deputy commissioner now for resilience. He's been there maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Coastal resilience, yeah. And a bureau of coastal resilience, which is good. That's a lot of money put behind fortifying the coasts.
So your
And,
job
yeah.
is more about how things work on a
Yeah.
day-in, day-out basis. And
I work with her on the Red Hook though.
Yeah.
I work with her on Red
Oh,
Hook
okay.
because that's Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And the Manhattan Borough Commissioner works with her on East Coast. And I got to go to the first ever, the demonstration of the first ever floodgates in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on the East River, basically like under the FDR. And they can come, you can like with a remote control, you can bring them up 6 feet and down. So if there's a storm, they can put it up and it's gonna really help. And we hope to have something similar in Red Hook.
Oh, wow.
And in other areas. I mean, Brooklyn has a lot of coasts, so I'm advocating for a lot more of that.
Wow,
Very good.
good. That
Thank
is
you.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is amazing.
so thank you for coming out
Yeah,
and,
Now we can
you, would
the
you
software
have
is-
business cards?
I
Okay.
don't because I just started.
Okay.
But I'm happy
That's fine,
to
yeah, well, I have
call
your-
it and Dante have
Yeah,
all
they
my
have,
information.
okay, that's fine, yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
And it's on there too, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Hope
you
to see
very
you all
much,
soon.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's wonderful.
Colette, is this thing on or off? Cause I'm
Just
seeing
went-
no cable connection.
connection. It's probably
Yeah.
off. Yeah, it looks like it might be
It's
off.
just the screen is down, just gotta reboot
Just sleeping.
it.
Doesn't.
I can relate.
I'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see you Thursday. So exciting.
Okay. Should I do it? No, I'm good.
Kendall, did you invite Mr. Masada to the meeting?
I didn't personally, but I encourage.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Very good.
Oh, please do. It was really good to meet you. Thank you all.
Good
Thank you
night.
guys.
Have a good night, be
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, yeah.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. See
We'll
you
be
soon.
talking some more.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
thank
it
you.
sounded like you knew
Yeah.
each other.
All right, so let us
Catching up
continue
next Thursday.
with our next guest presenter.
I thought
Michael
they were
Reiser,
Reeser.
from Pain Care. So we're gonna give the floor
Michael,
to you,
I'm so
Michael.
sorry, I thought you was part of the department.
No. You see his shirt, it says Pain Care.
I know what it said,
Yeah.
but I just thought, agencies, teamwork, working together.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
I
so-
like the idea. And thank you for your words of encouragement, by the way, that, especially today. Not that every other day is different, but especially today, it's good to have a little perspective.
Yeah, my meetings don't start unless I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
That's true for Debbie.
So I do not work
So
for an
you should
agency.
touch the microphone.
I work for an organization called Paint Care. And, let's see, so here we go. Yeah. So why Paint Care, right? The reason for Paint Care to exist is because 10% of the paint that we use goes to waste, right? Typically, you get to the bottom of the can, or you get to the bottom of the 10th can, and there's 10% that it does not get used statistically across the country. And so that comes out to 84 million gallons a year, right? So 10 times that amount is sold. We don't use 10% of that. Yeah, so it's a lot of paint that doesn't get used. And so, what happens to that paint? Hopefully, it does not get poured down the drain. We can talk about that, but that's my question for email. Paint Care makes it easy for people to recycle their leftover paint, and we take paint back from businesses as well as households, and we partner with paint retailers in the community to be those drop-off locations. So in the past, you could bring paint to the Department of Sanitation, or you could take it to the safe event, right, and wait for 2 hours in line to get your chance to recycle your leftover paint, or to dispose of your leftover paint. But now, at Paint Care, we try to make it much easier. And we're a nonprofit organization created by the coatings industry. So we're not a small organization, although I'm the only person in New York City, but we have we're across the country, and here are all the states that we
Oh, wow.
operate in. Yeah. So every time a state passes a paint stewardship law, Paint Care pops up and says, "Hey, we will manage that program for you. We have some experience."
Oh, good.
And so, as you see, we're out on the West Coast, in Colorado, Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, Connecticut. And next coming, Illinois is the next state to come on. It's coming on this year. And then Maryland will be the state after that. And so, since Paint Care started, we've collected more than 72 million gallons. This is as of 2023. Really before, well, New York was already started, but before we really got going. So they haven't come out with the next annual report yet. I look forward to updating the slide, but 78% of the paint that we collect gets recycled back into recycled content paint, right? So that it doesn't go to waste, right? So all the natural resources that were used to make that paint, instead of going into a landfill or worse, get recycled back into paint. Sorry.
So back to that slide, the left box has 0% latex, 0% oil based. You're supposed to have numbers in there?
Sorry, where are we?
Well, when
Under
it says
this-
0% latex and 0.
Oh, okay, yeah, so yes, I'm supposed to have numbers in there. It is by far, I don't know off the top of my head what those numbers are, however, the numbers, so we recycle much more of the latex paint, right?
Oh.
Latex paint is most of what is used in New York City, there's, the application of oil-based paint is very, very limited now, by law. And so most of, the vast majority of what we recycle gets recycled, the latex paint. Now, the oil-based paint has a high BTU content, right? It's flammable, right? Oil-based. And so refined and used as fuel for cement kilns. The combustible part is used as fuel for cement kilns. And we send as little as possible to landfill. That's our goal, is to send. And thank you for pointing that out. I will fix it on the next round. So, yeah. Yeah, and we have, 2,476 drop-off sites around the country where people can drop off paint in those 10 states. Let's see, and we would like to have more reuse paint, right? Some of the paint gets reused for, directly. So when people bring their paint to be recycled, some of it does get reused, but we really want to increase that number. Right now in Brooklyn, you can go to Big Reuse, which is a reuse store on 12th Street, in Gowanus, and you can purchase reclaimed paint at a very favorable price. It's $10 a gallon, and so that's a great deal because the price of paint has increased precipitously.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. And I imagine that after today, it will increase more.
Oh my God.
So Big Reuse is a great provides a great opportunity for people who can't afford paint at the retail store to go and buy leftover paint. And it's interesting because there's like when a paint contractor is doing a job, they typically buy more paint than they need.
Yes.
And so that paint is what ends up at Big Reuse, and it's as good as any of the paint
Yeah.
because it was just purchased and just not used. So, and then we also do large volume pickups, and we've done 10,925 so far, and I'll tell you more about those in just a minute. So, nearly 2 million gallons of paint have been collected since the program launched in 2022. We have 367 drop-off sites around the country and 65 in New York City where people can bring their paint to be collected. And by the way, here, if you could take, please take more than one of those so that you can give it to your neighbors. Basically, these are the drop-off sites in CD9.
Thank you.
And there are some that are just outside of CD9 if neither of these are close to you.
Okay.
And the idea is we want to reduce community costs so that when a community does a municipal event, Paint Care also
Give something to
pays.
your neighbor?
And I can post it online, it's better.
Okay.
Yes, one's going to go out on your the
That's Friday
community
blast.
board social media.
The Friday blast is gonna have this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is East New York Avenue over there. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm at the
it's
corner.
sort of like they're on the edges of your
Yeah.
community board.
Yeah.
I'm always, my job, the biggest part of my job is to recruit paint retailers to become paint drop-off sites. So if you have a particular paint retailer that you like, please encourage them to be a drop-off
To
site.
be a drop-off site.
It's also good for business because it brings people into the store. And Home Depot and Lowe's are not participating as drop-off sites. And so, this is a reason to bring people back into the local paint retailers as opposed to going to those guys.
Yeah.
And like I always say, when you walk into one of your local paint stores, you're talking to someone who really knows about paint as opposed to someone at Home Depot who might have been selling light bulbs the week before.
Yes.
Don't tell people at Home Depot
So
I
true.
said that. But, yes. Yeah, we've done 700 large volume pickups in the state so far for people who have 100 or more gallons of paint. So that's a lot. And this is how the large volume pickup program works. So if basically anyone, hotels, contractors, anyone who has 100 gallons of paint based on the volume of the container, not the liquid content, right? If they have 100 gallons, we'll come pick it up from them for free, so they don't need to take it to a drop-off site. So that's, primarily we're trying to target paint contractors with this, because, they do a job, they have some paint left, they put it in the back of their garage, they do another job, they put more paint in the back of their garage, and, time goes on, and you've got, 100 cans of paint sitting in the back of your garage, and what do I do to get rid of it? If you call someone to pick it up, it can cost, it's considered hazardous waste. It can cost $1,000 to have that 100 gallons taken out of your garage, and we'll do it for free. And it's not really for free, by the way, but we'll get to that again in a minute. So yeah, for the large volume pickup, the minimum quantity is 100 gallons. So based on the volume of the container, not the liquid content. And these are the products that Paint Care accepts. So it's most of what you use, and most of what people use is the interior, exterior, latex, oil and latex paint.
Right.
Deck coatings, primers, sealers, undercoaters, stains, shellac, varnishes, single component urethanes, not the two-part paints. Waterproofing sealers, repellents, metal coatings, rust preventative, and field and bond paint. And then these are the things that we do not take, right? Paint Care does not take everything, right? Because we can't recycle it.
Yeah.
We take the things that we can recycle. So thinners, spirits, and solvents, that's the main thing that people want, and aerosol cans, that's the main thing people want us to take. We have to say, no, sorry, we can't take that because it's not a Paint Care product. And all this stuff is on our website, and our website is linked right off of this,
Okay.
right off of here, so. Yeah. So arts and crafts paint, auto and marine paint, caulking, compounds, epoxies, glues, wood preservatives containing pesticides, roof patch, anything with asphalt in it, can't take that. Two-part coatings, those epoxies with the A and B, can't take those. Deck cleaners, graphic and road marking paints. Those are the things that we cannot take. And in terms of container size, anything up to 5 gallons, right? So we can't take a 50-gallon drum full of paint, right? We don't want people to consolidate paint, right? Because if you consolidate it, when it goes to the paint processor, they separate the cans by color, right?
Right.
And they take the red paint and put it with the red paint, the green paint with the green paint. If somebody mixes it together, then you've got mud.
A mess.
You've got a
Yeah.
mess. And we can't really, we can't really recycle
How
that.
fresh does this paint, like
Doesn't
sometimes
matter.
you find from like 5 years ago or so, it's
20 years
dry
ago.
paint.
20
You
years.
Yeah.
take that?
Yeah, we will take dry paint. We can
Okay.
take dry paint. Yes, it gets ground up and put back into the process.
Yeah.
No empty cans, no leaking containers. Containers got to be sealed, and no empty cans. You can put empty paint cans into the regular metal, glass, plastic recycling.
Yes.
Much less expensive way to recycle paint. And again, dry latex paint in the bottom of the can. If there's like a puck of paint, we can take that. And the first step in requesting a large volume pickup is, to figure out how much paint you have, how many 5 gallons, how many 1 gallons, how many quarts of oil and latex. It's really easy. You just go online, and in about 2 weeks, we come and we pick up the paint. And pickup day, to make sure we can get to the paint. And so how is Paint Care funded, right? That's a question people ask, because obviously we can't do it for free. So it's funded by a fee on the purchase of paint, right? When you go to buy a can of paint, you pay an eco-recovery fee, and that fee is 45 cents on a quart, 95 cents on a gallon, and $1.95 on a 5-gallon container. So if you consider that compared to the cost of the gallon of paint, it's really very small, right? But everything in the recycling world has a value, right? The problem is that sometimes the value is negative, and in the case of paint, the value is negative, and we need this fee in order to cover the cost of recycling paint, and it costs between $10 and $15 a gallon to recycle paint. So there's definitely a cost there. And this is what happens to the money that, that is, that is charged on that eco-recovery fee, so 67%. For transportation and processing, 23% for administrative staff, 10% for outreach and education. Yep. And our mission is to get people to buy the right amount of paint, use it up, store it, use it up, and recycle the rest. That's our goal. And again, your two
Yeah.
drop-off sites in your community. Really, really great stores, both of them. A real asset, I think, to the community.
So the Nostrand Avenue, location is, what is the cross streets over there?
It is just beyond Brooklyn College.
Okay.
Oh, it's all the way down
Okay,
there.
so it's all, yeah, down by the junction.
Okay, 2266.
Okay.
But East New York Avenue is just right up here in Dayton.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, that one is right up here, it's closer.
Well, Brooklyn College is in CD9.
Uh-oh.
Hmm?
Brooklyn College is in CD9.
I went and I
It's like
looked on
14
the,
or 17.
I went
Yeah.
and I looked on the website, on the community board website, on our GIS, and it said that it was in the district.
No.
I could be wrong, sorry if I'm wrong.
Mm.
No, we go to probably like 1500 Nostrand or something, around the boulevard.
Yeah.
Everything north of that is in the thousands, or this is single digits here. Or it can be
Well, this is just south of Brooklyn College, but, okay,
That is, that location?
yeah,
Yeah, but Brooklyn College is outside of that.
It's outside of the district.
okay.
Are you like,
But
So we may only have one.
we may only
You
have
may
one,
only
yeah.
have one.
That's okay,
Sorry.
yeah. But,
But you can go to anyone, that's,
Yeah.
you don't, just because it's not in your district doesn't mean you can't go there.
right.
Right, but I would say that then, Hardware Express deserves, give them some credit,
Yes,
for
true.
providing this free service to the
Right, right.
community. Right, because all of the retail drop-off sites are volunteers, right?
It's
They
a
don't,
True Value stored, or most of the True Values in the program, or just
No.
it's case by case?
right, yeah, case by case. Yeah, all the Sherwin-Williams stores are in the program, because Sherwin-Williams they own their own stores. So
Right.
it's a vertically integrated company. But True Value is a franchise. So True Value and Ace are franchises, and people individual hardware stores buy into the franchise.
So let's say that we wanted to do a community-wide, event in terms of, this paint, recycling.
Yeah, Kendall's been trying to get me to do that since since the program
And what
started.
happened?
So we are going to be doing some events with the Department of Sanitation.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, two things. One is that this is actually more convenient, right? Because you can take your paint to Corner Hardware or Hardware Express or any of the other 65 drop-off sites in New York City, any day of the week, the days they're open, right? Some of them are not open. I think Hardware Express might not be open on Friday or Saturday. But any day of the week, you can bring your paint to one of our drop-off sites, right? So it's really convenient.
Yeah, but you may have some seniors that may not be able to get to those locations.
True.
So,
The problem with events is that they are very expensive. And we are going to be doing, let's see, how many? I know we're going to be doing at least 10 events around the city with the Department of Sanitation, partnering with the Department of Sanitation and with the Lower East Side Ecology Center. And so if you want an event in your district, first of all, check out, go to the department, talk to the Department of Sanitation, and provide them with a great location, right? That's the big problem that we have. Doing these out on the street, doing it near a storm drain is a real challenge, right? Because we have to block up the storm drain, and if it rains, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. But paint is hazardous waste, right? When it's not, when it's excess, when it's unused, when it is waste. is hazardous waste. And so we have a hazardous waste hauler who comes and does the, you know, and picks up. And if they have to have a truck there all day, that means they have to have 4 or 5 people right there. And it gets expensive, and so that's why we are reluctant. Unless we know that we can get a lot of paint, you know, more, certainly, you know, several hundred gallons. And so that's why we're partnering with the Department of Sanitation. 200 people minimum dropping off paint, then we would probably be, you know, we would be willing to do that. You know, but we would really have to know that they're gonna be 200 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you said, if you have 100 cans, doesn't matter how little's in each can, you'll pick it up?
Yes.
Okay.
From a single location.
From a single
From
location.
the single location.
Right.
So like an apartment building, I mean, in other words, what would you say most of the time the soup is doing with those empty paint cans?
Storing them in the basement.
Hiding it in the black bag and putting it on the trash.
Okay, fine. Got it.
That's what I think.
So-
is
so
All right,
let's
now,
say-
are you gonna be partnering with sanitation to do like more pickups?
Yes.
You know, like, you know, we have our recycling day, we can have our paint day or
Yeah.
something.
See, the problem is, it's like, if we had as much paint as we did recycling, it would
Right.
be much more
It's true.
economical
It's
to do
true.
that, to
You're
do those
right.
pickups.
Right.
But we are working on that.
And how do you work with new construction? Are you getting?
Yeah, if a new construction has 100 gallons on
Yeah,
site,
well, they would be using like the 5-gallon.
yeah, that's great. We would, if they have 100 gallons left over, I mean, based on the volume of the container, so
Right.
25,
Oh, okay,
You'll
so
be
that
fine.
would be 5 and 25 gallons, right?
right, yeah, 25 gallons and we're there. And we, you know, it's funny, we're trying to partner with, the Columbus Amsterdam bid, to be a paint drop-off site. We're working on the contract right now. So if you wanted to be a drop-off site, we would
That
be
Peter.
glad to. Forget. But if, you know, if you wanted to be a drop-off site, we would be glad to work with you to be a drop-off site. And, you know, if there's a hardware store in the neighborhood that would, you know, volunteer to be a drop-off site, we would be glad to work with them. So, that's, and really, you know, if you think about it, it works better than an event because paint doesn't just happen once a year, right? People have paint, you know, people use paint periodically. They have paint sitting around in their garage or their basement or their closet, in my case, right? And that's where we want, where the paint's hiding, and that's you know, typically before it gets down to the super, that's what it's doing. It's
Yeah.
hiding in someone's closet. That's what we want to get.
Okay, so
So last year it was probably up to about 20 cans or so of
Yeah.
varying vintages in the last decade.
Yeah, and the old paint is fine.
And I took a dozen of them to big reuse.
Yep.
So I still have some left for other projects.
Okay.
But-
You've saved some for the next big
The
project.
fresher ones, the
Yeah.
more recent projects, but,
Yeah.
but I did a brief survey of my neighbors a couple of years ago when this was all getting started, you know, I live in Lefferts Manor, which is 600 home, you know. all-
600 homes?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it's a,
well, how many is like on a block?
my block is 82,
On each side, right?
41 on each side.
Oh,
Yeah, the blocks differ a little bit.
Yeah.
But the brief survey I did on my neighbors was that everyone, and they're all homeowners for the most part, and it was that everyone had probably a minimum of 5, and upwards of 8. And on
Wow.
average. So we were trying to figure out how to do sort of a neighborhood collection event that would be easy for people to, you know, to walk their cans to a certain driveway or
yeah,
whatever else.
wow.
And collect them, you know, more than the minimum quantity. To
Yeah,
justify
see,
pickup.
that becomes a problem because, well, like having all the cans in one driveway, right? If there's a leak, if there's a paint spill,
Right.
then the owner of that house now has a hazardous waste spill. to deal with.
Or a very colorful driveway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, you
Okay.
know, that's.
Yeah,
what
so
we
that's
evaluate.
where we sort of ran into all of these,
Gotchas.
gotchas, about permitting and what happens in this case about whatever else. But, you know, presumably, you know, most of what we have is latex, so it's less hazardous in that sense.
Right,
Um,
okay, so,
It's less volatile. I would not, you wouldn't wanna drink it. You wouldn't want it in your wastewater, you wouldn't want it in your combined sewer overflow. I was gonna ask, but I figured.
Ha!
Yeah.
No, you were very polite, cause I was, you know, we were enjoying her presentation, so it did go late, and we enjoy yours also.
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
so we have your contact information and,
Yes. And don't hesitate to call me.
we will reach out to you.
And if you'd like a presentation for the full board, I'd be glad
Yeah,
to.
definitely, yeah,
That would be
we
good.
can try to arrange something.
Right, and most importantly, tell your local paint retailer, become a paint care drop-off
Become a
site.
great, yeah,
Serve the community.
okay, yeah,
They're
we'll
the
do that.
best.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Reiser.
For that,
And
Michael,
we
what's a paint or hardware store have to have in terms of space?
the small box is 21 by 21 inches.
It holds how many?
It holds 45 1-gallon container or 4 fives. So 21 by 21 inches.
And you provide the box.
So we provide the box with a liner.
Okay,
We will pick up as often as whenever they fill that box, we will come and we'll pick it up. And there's no charge for this because it's all paid for by when people buy their paint,
The
right? So
people, wait a second, the city's paying you to work here, or
No.
you selling
No.
the paint? Oh.
when you go and buy a can of paint, right? Weren't you watching?
I was watching, it's $40-50 a gallon.
That's
I
right,
think.
it's
Yeah.
$40-50 a
Yeah.
gallon for paint. There's an eco recovery fee, right? And the
Oh.
eco recovery fee is 95 cents on a gallon.
Okay,
So that 95 cents goes to recycle the 10% of the paint that does not get used.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So the 95 cents is what pays me to be here.
Oh, okay, sounds good.
I am
Good
not
like
paid,
that.
I don't work for the city, I am not your tax dollars at work.
No, I just, that's why I was asking before, if you're gonna be partnering with the city to, you know, get
Yes.
this.
Yes, and in fact, I forgot to mention, if you take the paint over to Greenpoint to the special waste drop-off,
Mhm.
or if you take it to a safe event, we also pay to recycle that paint,
Oh,
so.
good to know.
Does the hardware store have to be a paint seller in order to?
It does not, however, I have found that stores that do not mix paint are not interested in being paint drop-off sites.
Mm.
Because there's a new one, a small one that just opened on Rogers Avenue that's a community service, might be an interesting draw.
Yeah, I mean, for a new store with a owner who has insight, it's a great way to get people into the store.
Right.
You know, and once you're, in Brooklyn, once you're in the store, why would you not buy whatever you need?
Right.
Why would you go to one store to
True.
drop off your paint and then go to Home
And
Depot?
then go to Home Depot, yeah.
So are these stores, is there any chance they have use for this paint? Like, I mean, you'll get some of it, but, you know,
Well, I have not found that because because the retailers are in the business of selling paint,
Yeah.
right? So they don't wanna,
Yeah.
some retailers do sell their mist tints, right? Mist tints are, like if somebody makes a mistake,
Yeah.
also
With a
called
color or
mist paint,
something, yeah.
then they'll
Yeah.
sell that, at a big discount. But, yeah, but I haven't found, they're not trying to get the paint that we collect.
just asking.
But if they did, if they had a use for it, we wouldn't say, don't do that.
Don't do
'Cause,
it.
our goal is to keep paint out of the waste stream, keep it out
And
of
so
the
when
drain.
you're actually able to do something with dried up paint?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because the paint processors, the paint, so paint care is not a paint processor, right? What Paint Care does is Paint Care organizes this collection. Paint Care manages the money that comes from the paint manufacturer, right, and puts it into use to recycle the paint.
Wow.
But what happens to the paint is it gets picked up by a hazardous waste hauler, and in New York City, the hazardous waste hauler is Clean Harbors, which is it's a reputable company, and they're pretty good to work with. They deal with all sorts of hazardous waste spills. Paint is a big, they collect a lot of paint. And then it goes to a paint processor, and then the paint processor that we use in New York City is called GDB International. And they're in New Jersey. They're the largest paint recycler in the world. And they take the paint and, they separate it by color and they reprocess it. Right? They have a giant mixer.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's very much like the mixer you have at home.
Right.
Except that it's like,
It's huge, yeah.
it's huge. And it's full of paint. And so they mix it up and they sell as much, separate, use as much as they can domestically, and they also sell overseas.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time and your presentation.
My pleasure.
It was very informative.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yes.
Kendall.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Michael. I can't say your last name.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bishop Gonzalez. Thanks.
All right, so we are going to get on with our business. I believe that Mr.
He's probably out of town. Right?
Mr. Herbert
Yes.
Yeah.
and his draft resolution, everyone got a copy.
Yeah,
So I guess he wanted us to review the content and determine, the next step. So I guess we can take some time to read it as it says here. I'll say, where is that thing on or not? I guess,
No, he turned it on.
is that on?
What? No. He took
So
out
this
the-
draft resolution is for the controller's audit report on DEP's handling of fire hydrant inspections and repairs, and the recommendation status.
Do you know what got him interested in this?
He probably was
I know
reading,
he gets
yeah,
bees in his bonnet.
yeah, so he probably found that and figured, he'd try to, do something with it, so I think that's where that is, to find out what.
I was not aware that there was a problem with getting hydrants repaired when needed, but this suggests that there's,
Yeah,
has been a problem.
right.
So,
So this is his resolution, draft resolution, I would say, in terms of asking, the comptroller's office to conduct a follow-up,
review,
yeah,
whether the recommendations.
of the 14 recommendations that was made,
Right,
yeah.
so,
So,
all right, excuse me, Debbie, I have to go now because I'm in the other meeting,
which other meeting?
the precinct meeting.
Oh,
Yeah,
precinct council meeting is
Yeah.
tonight. And I told them the last time, make sure that you don't schedule them on the same.
no, I
meetings
tell
are the
you what,
same.
the executive board is always, this is like, right now I'm in the middle of this Zoom here. But
Okay,
Well,
okay, so,
they're gonna expect
so
you to say
this
something, so-
resolution, I guess we can decide
Yeah,
whether it should just move forward.
right.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
I'm in forward of it moving forward, I mean, it
Okay,
worked
great.
hard and I'm good with
Yeah.
that,
Okay,
And that's
yeah.
what I felt too.
So we can just
yeah.
vote as a consensus that, this is
And let them.
our decision to move it forward. So I will let him know that that is what we decided. And are there any further questions? I know we have some old business, but we can always follow up with
I
that.
thought this was a fascinating meeting.
Thank you
I
so
thought so
We
much.
had some great
Yes.
presenters, and of course you kicked it off with, your kind and thoughtful
yes.
and motivational words, thank you,
Yes,
Bishop.
indeed. Yes,
Thank you.
words of encouragement. So I will move to adjourn the meeting. It is
Thank you.
now 8:31 p.m.
Yeah, we're usually done by around 8:05.
Yeah, but
But
we had two presenters and they were very informative,
They were
so.
really
she did a
good,
great
so
job.